A commercial jet has powerful engines, advanced computers, and multiple backup systems. Yet one tiny covered hole can create confusion inside the cockpit within minutes. It sounds impossible. Why have blocked sensors been linked to some of aviation's most famous accidents? And what exactly happens when pilots can no longer trust what their instruments are telling them? Look out of an airplane window before takeoff, and you'll probably notice engines, wings, and massive landing gear. But hidden along the side of the fuselage is something far smaller, a tiny opening, only a few centimeters wide. Most passengers never see it, yet pilots and maintenance crews pay close attention to it before every flight, because this small opening is connected to some of the aircraft's most important instruments. It has no moving parts, weighs almost nothing, and looks completely ordinary. Modern airliners can carry more than 300 passengers, fly above 900 kilometers per hour, and cruise nearly 12,000 meters above the Earth. Yet this tiny opening remains essential throughout the journey. That is why maintenance crews place warning covers near these areas when aircraft are parked and carefully check that nothing is blocking them. Even dirt, tape, ice, or debris can create problems. Many passengers have walked past these openings without realizing they were looking at one of the aircraft's most important external components. So what makes this tiny hole so valuable? Imagine flying through the clouds at nearly 900 kilometers per hour. Outside the window, there are no road signs, landmarks, or painted lanes in the sky. So how does the aircraft know whether it is climbing, descending, or maintaining altitude? Part of the answer begins with this tiny opening. As an airplane moves through the atmosphere, air pressure constantly changes. Higher altitude means lower pressure, while lower altitude means higher pressure. This opening continuously senses those changes and sends the information to the aircraft's air data system. From there, computers transform invisible air pressure into numbers pilots can use, including altitude, vertical speed, and airspeed. Even a small pressure difference can represent hundreds of feet of altitude change. Remarkably, the opening itself contains no electronics, screens, or processors. It simply provides raw information that other systems depend on. In a way, it acts like the aircraft's connection to the atmosphere around it. But what happens if that connection is interrupted? That is where a tiny obstruction can turn into a very big problem. Now imagine something surprisingly simple. Not an engine failure or a computer malfunction. Just a small piece of tape, ice, dirt, or debris covering an opening only a few centimeters wide. When that opening can no longer sense outside air correctly, the aircraft may begin receiving inaccurate pressure information. If that information becomes unreliable, the data flowing to important flight instruments can become unreliable as well. Pilots may see readings that do not match reality. One instrument may suggest the aircraft is climbing, while another indicates something different. Warnings can begin appearing, and confusion can spread inside the cockpit. Modern airliners are built with multiple computers, backup systems, and cross-check procedures. But when critical information starts conflicting, crews must quickly determine which data can still be trusted. This is why aircraft inspections are so strict before departure. Even a small obstruction can affect systems used throughout the flight. In fact, one of aviation's most famous accidents began with something astonishingly ordinary: a single piece of tape. October 2nd, 1996. A Boeing 757 lifted off into the darkness from Lima, Peru, with 70 people on board. The flight appeared routine, but within minutes, something strange began happening. The aircraft's instruments started disagreeing with each other. Warning messages appeared. Alarms sounded. Critical flight information no longer made sense. The answer was hidden on the outside of the airplane. as the Boeing 757 climbed into the night sky over the Pacific Ocean. The aircraft began receiving incorrect pressure information. The crew faced a flood of conflicting warnings and unreliable readings. The situation became increasingly difficult because it was nighttime, leaving few visual references outside the cockpit. The pilots were forced to rely heavily on instruments that were no longer providing a clear picture. Investigators later determined that the covered openings played a critical role in the accident. It was a tragic reminder that even the smallest maintenance oversight can have enormous consequences. You might think the Boeing 757 accident was a rare exception. It wasn't. Over the years, several aircraft have experienced serious emergencies linked to blocked air data sensors. One of the most well-known examples occurred in 1996, involving Bergen Air Flight 301. Investigators found evidence that one of the aircraft's pitot tubes had likely become obstructed while the airplane sat parked for days. Shortly after takeoff, the crew was confronted with abnormal airspeed information. More than a decade later, another tragedy brought global attention to the issue. In 2009, Air France Flight 447 disappeared over the Atlantic Ocean, with 228 people on board. During the flight, ice crystals temporarily interfered with pitot probes, causing inconsistent airspeed readings. The aircraft was flying at nearly 35,000 feet above the clouds and far from any airport. Within minutes, the situation became critically complex. These accidents revealed an uncomfortable truth. Without reliable information, pilots can be forced into making decisions under extreme uncertainty. That is why aviation authorities, airlines, and manufacturers treat these tiny openings with extraordinary seriousness. In aviation, a few centimeters can separate routine flight from disaster. Before every commercial flight, pilots walk around an aircraft that may be worth more than $100 million. They inspect engines, wings, landing gear, and they also check a tiny opening on the side of the fuselage. Why would something so small receive so much attention? Because aviation is built on a simple principle: never trust assumptions. Verify everything. Modern airliners are equipped with multiple static ports, redundant air data computers, backup instruments, and warning systems. If one reading looks suspicious, the system can alert the crew. That level of redundancy exists because the industry learned from past accidents. Today, maintenance procedures include strict inspections, protective covers, detailed checklists, and verification steps before an aircraft is cleared for service. Technicians are trained to treat even minor contamination as a potential safety issue. Despite all the advanced technology inside a modern cockpit, accurate pressure information remains one of the foundations of safe flight. That is the remarkable lesson hidden behind this tiny opening. Not every critical aircraft component is large or powerful. Sometimes the most important system is the one nobody notices. A small opening, a few pressure readings, and information that helps guide hundreds of people safely across continents every day. A modern airliner can cost more than $100 million. It has powerful engines, advanced computers, and multiple backup systems. Yet one tiny opening on the side of the aircraft remains critically important. That is why pilots inspect it, technicians check it, and airlines follow strict procedures to keep it clear. The aviation industry learned an important lesson from past accidents. Even the most advanced aircraft cannot make good decisions without accurate information. And that information begins with something surprisingly small, a tiny hole, hidden in plain sight. If you liked the video, hit the subscribe button for more fascinating aviation stories and engineering mysteries.